For decades, Andrew Cuomo was surrounded by power. Born into one of New York's most influential political families, he grew up watching how authority was exercised, protected, and preserved. His father, Mario Cuomo, served 3 terms as governor, and Andrew followed a similar path, building a career defined by ambition, sharp political instincts, and an often intimidating leadership style. By the time Andrew Cuomo became governor of New York in 2011, he had already earned a reputation as a demanding, forceful figure who tolerated little dissent. Supporters called him decisive. Critics called him controlling. Few, however, questioned his dominance. That perception only intensified during the COVID-19 pandemic, when Cuomo became a national figure. His daily televised briefings were watched by millions. He was praised for his command of data, his blunt honesty, and his ability to project strength during crisis. Awards followed. Book deals followed. There was even open discussion of Cuomo as a future presidential contender. To the public, he appeared unshakable, a leader forged in pressure. But behind the polished image, multiple women would later allege that Cuomo's leadership masked a deeply troubling pattern of behavior, one rooted in power, imbalance, intimidation, and repeated violations of professional boundaries. Inside Cuomo's administration, former staffers described an environment driven by fear and loyalty. Cuomo was known to yell, berate employees, and publicly humiliate those who displeased him. According to testimony later gathered by investigators, this culture made it nearly impossible for staff to challenge him, not only on policy, but on personal conduct. Several women who worked under Cuomo alleged that he regularly crossed professional lines, engaging in unwanted touching, prolonged hugs, kisses on the cheek or lips, and comments about their appearance or relationships. These interactions, they said, were not isolated incidents, but part of a broader pattern that made them feel uncomfortable, diminished, and powerless. What made these allegations particularly serious was the imbalance of authority. Cuomo was not simply a colleague, he was the governor. The women who came forward described feeling trapped between enduring the behavior or risking their careers. Some said they laughed nervously or stayed silent because saying no did not feel like a real option. As the first accusations became public in late 2020 and early 2021, Cuomo's office attempted to minimize them, framing the claims as misunderstandings or exaggerated interactions. But as weeks passed, more women came forward, each describing remarkably similar experiences. Despite having worked with Cuomo at different times and in different roles, one former aide alleged Cuomo frequently asked invasive questions about her dating life and made remarks that felt sexualized rather than conversational. Another said Cuomo ran his fingers down her back during conversations. Several women described being kissed without consent, including in professional settings where such behavior was entirely inappropriate. The most serious allegation came from a former executive assistant who stated that Cuomo groped her breast inside the governor's mansion. This allegation in particular shifted the public narrative, transforming the scandal from inappropriate behavior to potential criminal conduct.
I was nervous. I was emotional.
What he did to me was a crime. He broke the law. People don't understand that this is the governor of the state of New York. There are troopers that are outside of the mansion, and there are some mansion staff. Those troopers that are there, they are not there to protect me. They are there to protect him.
Facing mounting pressure, Cuomo authorized an independent investigation led by New York Attorney General Letitia James. The scope of the investigation was extensive. Investigators interviewed more than 170 witnesses, reviewed text messages, emails, photographs, and internal documents, and examined years of Cuomo's behavior within state government. When the findings were released in August 2021, the conclusions were unequivocal. The report stated that Andrew Cuomo sexually harassed multiple women, violating state and federal laws. It detailed specific incidents, corroborating accounts, and described a workplace culture shaped by intimidation and fear. The investigation also found that Cuomo's senior staff had worked to retaliate against accusers, including leaking information and attempting to discredit their credibility. The report painted a portrait not of isolated mistakes, but of a systemic abuse of power.
The stunning results of the Attorney General's investigation into Governor Andrew Cuomo. Letitia James and two lead investigators revealed their findings of the sexual harassment report today.
They include evidence that the governor harassed multiple women, both current and former state employees, and women inside and outside of state government. The report was damning. It included words and phrases like unwanted groping, intimidation, and retaliation, and called the executive chamber a hostile work environment.
Cuomo denied intentionally harassing anyone. In televised statements, he said he never meant to offend and argued that his physical gestures were cultural or generational misunderstandings. He apologized to anyone who felt uncomfortable, while maintaining that he had done nothing wrong. But this defense failed to resonate with the public. Critics argued that intent was irrelevant when power dynamics stripped consent of meaning. Advocacy groups emphasized that professional boundaries exist precisely to prevent abuse by those in authority. Members of Cuomo's own party began calling for his resignation, as did President Joe Biden. The political support that once insulated Cuomo evaporated almost overnight.
First, I want you to know directly from me that I never touched anyone inappropriately or made inappropriate sexual advances. I am 63 years old. I've lived my entire adult life in public view. That is just not who I am, and that's not who I have ever been.
On August 10, 2021, Andrew Cuomo announced his resignation as governor of New York. Standing before cameras, he acknowledged that the controversy had become a distraction and insisted stepping aside was in the state's best interest. But the resignation marked a stunning fall, not only from office, but from the public trust he once commanded. Cuomo left office under the shadow of impeachment proceedings and potential criminal investigations. His fall reshaped New York politics and sent a clear message. Even the most powerful figures are not immune to accountability.
I think that given the circumstances, the best way I can help now is if I step aside and let government get back to governing. And therefore, that's what I'll do, because I work for you.
In the months that followed, local prosecutors reviewed specific allegations to determine whether criminal charges could be filed. While some cases were later dropped due to evidentiary standards or legal limitations, the conclusions of the Attorney General's report remained intact. Cuomo's legacy was permanently altered. His name became linked not to crisis leadership, but to abuse of power and institutional failure. His political future, once limitless, effectively ended. The Cuomo scandal became a defining moment of the Me Too era in politics. It demonstrated that sexual harassment is not confined to Hollywood or corporate boardrooms. It thrives anywhere power is concentrated and accountability is weak. For many survivors, the case validated experiences long dismissed as just the way things are. For institutions, it exposed how fear and loyalty can protect misconduct for years. Andrew Cuomo's downfall did not stem from a single accusation or a single moment. It resulted from a pattern, one enabled by power, reinforced by silence, and ignored until the cost became unavoidable. The story is not just about a governor who resigned. It is about how authority can be weaponized, and about what happens when voices finally break through the walls built to silence them. Power does not excuse behavior. Position does not replace accountability. The fall of Andrew Cuomo stands as a reminder that leadership is not measured by control, but by respect. If you want more deep investigative documentaries, political scandal breakdowns, and real-world accountability stories, be sure to subscribe, like, and share this video. Because justice doesn't begin with power. It begins when the truth is no longer ignored.